Hello, gentlemen. How are you? What's going on?
Yeah, I've been in a cave.
Yeah, Ken,
Yeah,
where
I
you
feel
been?
that way too a little bit.
You guys hung out last night, huh?
We
Yeah.
did.
How was that?
It was nice. We chatted, and it was a good. It's
Yeah.
good when you get minds together and just decompress. And
Yeah.
Beautiful night.
beautiful evening. We missed you.
Oh, I missed you guys. It sounded like you had bourbon, so that was good.
Yeah, bourbon, cigars,
Yeah.
on our friend Mike's back
Yeah.
porch. The what do you call it? The infamous Mike we've been talking about for 2 years now that still hasn't been on the podcast.
Yeah. Our friend that supposedly
Yeah, he does
exists.
it really exist. I know that.
Yeah.
People out there probably think we made him up, but he's not. Made
Hey
up.
guys, let's do a freestyle Friday. We haven't done that in a while. What's going on in the world? What's going on with you? Current events, the agency world in general.
Yeah.
Things been going on specifically. Ken, what have you been working on lately?
What I've been working on. Oh man. Well,
What have you been in the cave on specifically? Just
Yeah.
client stuff?
no. I've been trying to. I'm pursuing my vision for what I believe I'm supposed to be doing as hard as I can.
Mm.
And I've been fortunate enough to do that more and more this year, and I don't think that's going to change. And so those are things like being a better owner of the businesses that I own and leveraging my abilities to where they should be for what I think I should be doing, rather than just doing things because I have to do them. And there's a big difference, I think, especially in service businesses. In service businesses, it can be hard because you get into it, you own a business, and then all of a sudden you realize, a lot of people, I talk to a lot of agency owners, and I had experience this week with one, and I felt so bad for them. It just they were living a horrible life. And, middle-aged person, just manic and scared and probably not making any money. And it's I think in any service industry, you can end up just spending your life doing what other people want you to do without realizing whether or not you want to be doing that.
That's a good point.
And I think I'm not saying that that's what I'm doing or was even doing. I'm just saying I think that's possible. And so
Let's unpack that a little bit.
So you're kind of talking about like you end up doing something that you don't want to do, and you're working with a customer that you may not want to be with because it's not a great relationship.
Are you talking about just a mindset?
I'm
habit?
talking about. I'm not. Yeah, I don't think
You're
I'm
talking
saying
about-
that. I think what I'm saying is because the nature of a service business is to get clients and build things and serve them and do things for other people. You might end up doing a bunch of things for other people and never doing the things that you wanted to do.
Yeah. No, I got you.
in and around your career.
In and around your career and with your abilities.
Yeah, you might find 20 years into your business that you've been just hustling for other people, and your dreams and what you want out of your business is never coming to fruition.
And I think this is unique. I think from a unique business owner perspective, like that is a lot of people's lives, and they have a lot of fulfillment and enjoyment doing that.
Yeah.
But I think for business owners, a lot of business owners start businesses to pursue a trailblaze their path because they feel like they want to
Make a contribution in the world, or they have a goal for themselves.
Right. Whatever the pull is, but they've got a reason to do their own thing. And the reason I say this is different for business owners maybe than for others, potentially, is because you might then end up realizing that you're not pursuing that path. You're not trailblazing anything. You might be just doing things because you have to do them, and you don't know why.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's bad to serve clients. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying some people are doing things, especially in service, and they look back and they're like, I never got to actually pursue the things I wanted to. And some people even feel stuck.
I think in our industry, there's we talked about this last night a little bit about your age and where you are in life. And for me personally, my early career was about creating really cool stuff and innovating in the space and working with clients and watching them launch products and watching those products become household names and all those things, and that are fun to be part of. It's kind of like you're part of this bigger thing that you see growth, and that's exciting. But then you get to a point, I think, in your age, and maybe even if you're a business owner, where that no longer fulfills anymore, and then you kind of go through a process of understanding, why do I do what I do, and what is that all about, and it's not about and as a business owner, there's more money involved probably because there's more of an ability to make more money than if you work for an agency. But then is it about the money? And then the money isn't as important anymore. I mean, it's important to, be able to fund your business, but it doesn't give you as much self excitement or worth for a lot of people.
You have to have both, right?
You have to have both. Yeah. And so I think the challenge is like, if you can early on understand some of those things, and you can early on put different goals up that is important, I think, and you can follow those things and get everybody else on board with those things, then then you may not get in that situation that you're talking about, because I think it's a situation that it's like you don't know what you don't know when you're young. Like, you can't fathom. Like, I had somebody tell me early on, if I just maxed out my IRA, how much money I would have when I was 50. Well, I didn't do it when I was in my 20s because I didn't have a lot of money. And I decided to do other things that were fun and with the money. But now I look back and I go, man, that was like a no-brainer. I should have done that. But it's easy to look back now and say those things.
I think the self-awareness. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you keep on going about this, because I think this is important, the self-awareness thing.
Yeah, I think the self-awareness of what you're talking about, Ken, and I'd be willing to bet the middle-aged person you were talking to was, at a point in his life where I don't know if he was aware that he was unhappy or miserable.
Didn't seem to be.
Okay. But one of the things...
That's the sad thing.
Yeah.
Sad thing.
It's very sad. And I think this is what Brad and I were talking about last night with Mike, and it kind of dovetails into your comment, is that there is a reality of when you're up until you're about 45, and that varies for people, maybe into their early 50s, you're in a stage of your life where you have strong, conquering goals, roll your sleeves up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to build this. I'm going to, whatever it may be. And then something happens, and this is a universal principle. And this book that we were talking about, one psychologist talks about you gradually go from fluid intelligence to a crystallized intelligence. And this happens in your brain where you get to the point where you no longer are wanting to roll your sleeves up and learn new things and do the stuff and go out and conquer. You want to be able to take all this accumulated wisdom and experience that you've had over the years, the failures, the successes, and you want to do things that are more in a mentorship or a leadership or an executive role that allows you to get some fulfillment from helping. If you're a healthy person, if you have a self-awareness. Yeah. And what happens, I think, and it happened to me, is you start to get into this stage, but you're still stuck in this, like you said, this like, I got to keep the engine going. I got to keep making the money. I got to keep building and building and building. And what you don't realize is you've changed as a human being. You've evolved. You've grown. Your brain has changed. You're older. And that may not be where you need to be anymore. And without that lack of self-awareness, you go, why am I miserable? Or why do other people think I'm miserable? Why do I don't even own my own life? Why? And the reality is you need to be able to shift and grow and realize, okay, there are people that are coming behind me that I need to support, that I need to maybe change what I do in my life and how I do it so that I can support them in a different role versus being the guy. I want to be the guy. And that's where you see very, very sad, either what you're talking about or very, very sad midlife crisis of this is the 70-year-old guy that gets the 20-year-old wife, right?
Well, because, right. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but I imagine those midlife crisis moments are because you feel trapped and you're just like, you just at some point break,
Yes.
and that's probably a good thing because the real you has been like, just for whatever reason, you've ignored some of the I'll call them like urges that may be really good things, right? Like they may be callings on your life. They may be things you should pursue. They may be bad things as well, but you ignore those to such an extent where you just break at some point. And I think it's not surprising to me because you get people of all ages, but especially kind of when you get like past your 20s, maybe even past your 30s, and you're like, I mean, I'm just surprised you see like this guy, I was talking to, he's much older than me and was well unaware of how horrible his situation was. And he's making everyone around him miserable. He's an agency owner making no money, a slave to a toxic relationship client. And making everyone around him miserable as well. And I'm just like, this, it's not sustainable, but I don't think he realizes. That's why I said, like, I think some people don't realize, and it can be hard too. Like, just to be honest with you, like when you create a business, you guys all know this, but anyone listening, when you build a business, at some point you kind of pretty quickly, and I would say it can be hard to avoid. You become trapped by that business.
Absolutely.
You literally build your own prison. And there's a quote. That is a cliche. I don't remember the exact cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. Like you become a prisoner to the thing that you built, the thing that was actually supposed to give you freedom. And that's a scary feeling. Sometimes,
and that's an easy thing to do.
Oh no, it's like I think it's almost unavoidable at some stages.
I mean, I feel that, all the time. And it's feel like
Me too.
I'm trying to break out every day.
Yeah.
Like I call it trying to fire myself.
Yes.
Like I'm trying to fire myself.
You've talked about that a few times.
Every day.
And you have to, because you have to be intentional about breaking that, because otherwise you will be a prisoner to the thing that you built.
Yeah. We had Hannah Paramore on, and she talked about hobbies. And I think that is a way of breaking that. It's like you force yourself to get free by living other lives, because I think there's a point where when you're a business owner, you're a business owner for a reason, because you are kind of a workaholic and you have a tendency, you're having fun. So work to you is not work.
That's right.
So when work is not work, you find yourself in that prison. You can get yourself in that prison without even knowing about it. And you're naturally driven toward that prison.
Because I think you change over time, right?
Yeah.
It's like it was fun. Oh my gosh.
Now it's
not fun anymore.
Now I have other interests where I want to do stuff.
And now you got people that you're supporting, all these different things. And I do think you transition at different points in life, and for me, you start to realize what your mission in life becomes over time,
and it could change.
It could change,
right?
And then you've got this issue with what I've built and what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. For some people, that becomes midlife crisis, breaking moments. For other people, they just hate their lives and they live inside of it. And I have a mentor that says this to me all the time, which is your business needs to serve you first before anybody else. And it's funny because this person I was talking to this week, he believed the opposite. My business needs to serve my client first. And at his demise,
the challenge
literally was telling me,
no,
no, it's not my health first. It's my client's health first. I'm like, bro, that's wrong. You can go down that ship, but I'm not coming with you. Unless
a healthy client means your business is healthier.
Well, my point is like, it sounds selfish, right? Let me unpack this for a second, because like, it sounds selfish. Like, because any client listening to me would be like, wait a second. So I want to explain, like if my business does not serve me first, how could I possibly be healthy enough to serve
it's
you?
the whole idea.
And by
oxygen mask.
serving me, it's the oxygen mask thing.
Yep.
But by serving me, I don't just mean
Yep.
like being okay. Like it needs to serve every want and desire that I have. It needs to make me a crap ton of money.
Yeah.
Okay. It needs to create the fulfillment.
What is a crap ton of money look like?
It's
That
about
sounds interesting.
it's somewhere between a crap ton and a whole lot
I want
of
to use
crap
that
ton.
term. That's a good term of measurement.
Yeah, it's there's other ways to say it. But my point is and anyone who says, "Oh no, that is not true." Anyone, and if it doesn't serve you first, and the reason it needs to do that, it needs to actually it has to scratch all of my fulfillment needs.
Yeah.
Right. Like regarding business fulfillment, obviously your life has other areas of fulfillment, but like when it comes to what for me, I believe I have a calling in life, and I have and I can't describe it, but there are certain talents inside of me that I feel need to be expressed better. And I can't describe it any other than a calling or a mission. And so if my business is not doing that, and if then for what my business, again, your business can't be everything in your life, but for those types of things where it aligns, if my business isn't doing that, it's not serving me, I can't serve the people that I serve well.
Yeah. Do you think that what does your business look like if you were to say your business is a relationship? What does that relationship look like? Is there times where, what happens when it doesn't fulfill you, like all relationships don't? You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
Like, what do you do to work that out?
Well,
it's not a person, but
goes to therapist.
It is a person, right?
I wonder, well,
it feels like a person. It feels like a relationship.
Yeah, right. It has a person, but I feel like a relationship would be the wrong analogy. No, like,
What is your?
Because I own
analogy?
it. I own it. I don't own my
So
wife.
it's your slave. The business is
it is set to serve.
It's an engine,
right? Like, okay, yeah, yeah.
that you're trying to optimize.
It's like AI.
Right.
Oh, sorry, said it.
Yeah, it's more like it's your. I mean, maybe slave gets it the wrong connotation,
slave, but
like
an
it's your
engine.
asset,
It's your asset,
right?
Yeah.
And so it's made. If it doesn't serve you first, and then secondarily serve the people that work within it, and then tertiarily serve the clients.
So you're
probably in that order, and that may sound bad, but like that's the only way it's sustainable is my point.
Yeah.
Like,
so it sounds like to me that your business, and maybe this is something interesting to talk about because it is for business owners.
Yeah.
You'll understand this. We always talk about, well, our businesses are people, right? We have taglines that even say that.
Right.
And sometimes people say, no, my business is my balance sheet and my ability to borrow money because I can grow. Some people think of that as their business. Some people think of their business as their idea. It's the idea of my business. Like a business owner had dreams and in their mind, they build this business. In fact, most business owners they don't live in the reality of what their business is. They're always 2 or 3 years down the road and they're envisioning what that looks like. They literally will live in a different, like I do. I know you do. I know you guys probably all do, right? We live in this made up world of play world that exists 2 years down the road, not today. Because I can't affect today. Like, I can't do anything today. Right now, I can't do anything that's going to make a huge impact, but I can 6 months from now or a year from now.
Yeah.
So is it the idea that you're talking about? Or when you talk about your business, is it just your feeling? Because you also have business partners and they have to be on the same page as you, at least with this vision.
Exactly.
And their goals have to be aligned. At least they might not have the same goal, but the business is fulfilling that dream and goal and desire and feeling of this is what I'm made for.
Well, as a business owner, also you may own multiple businesses, right? And that's also where I'm kind of getting to is like a lot of agency owners are not business owners.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're business practitioners.
Yeah, they're servicing people and they're good at their craft.
Right. Which if you talk to anyone, and I'm guilty of this too.
Yeah.
But if you talk to anyone who's like a true business owner or would, Warren Buffett or like that. Business ownership is not working inside the businesses.
I think that, I think what you're saying is it doesn't really matter. You're not a practitioner. You're a business person, and you could run any business. It doesn't matter what the product is.
You should be able to, I think.
You could, as long as you can make a profit and you can understand, you could refine any business. That's why CEOs go from one business, line of business to another line of business.
Because they're operating on business principles.
Yeah, it's all
which are
principles.
universal.
It doesn't matter what they're building or making. They can run a car company and go run a soft drink company. You know what I mean? They can
Which
run
is
businesses.
why I say all the time, sorry to keep cutting you off, but which is why I say all the time, it's funny where we have these different categories. Well, agencies can't, they don't make as much profit as a tech company or like a SaaS company. Well, why not? Shouldn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, if it doesn't work over here, then it doesn't work over here.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and it's so funny. I ran into one agency owner who felt it was ethically wrong to make a certain profit number. I was going do you think it costs Verizon any more money when they give you a new subscription to they charge you $300 a month for the new subscription?
Is you might have to reinvent your products.
I'm not saying it's easy.
No.
And I'm not saying that that it's easy to get the same, but my point is principles are principles because they're universal. And so a business, whatever the number is, needs to make a certain amount of profit, whether it's an agency or it's Verizon.
Sure.
And same with these other things. But a lot of agency owners, I think, are more in the seat of practitioners than business owners, or find themselves in that seat and they don't know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
And you feel, and I think a lot of them feel trapped in that way.
I want to go back up to something that you started touching on, because I think if I want to look at this whole discussion and get to the core of it, and let's say, all right, takeaway is, are people listening to this? People have seen it. They felt it. Yes, that's okay. How do we change that? Or how do we start? Or how do we do a reset? And I think, Brad, you were starting to get to something about your businesses is your people. And I believe that if you look at really, really good examples, if you look at the Apples of the world, if you look at even the Microsofts of the world, I think you have to start with values first, what your mission is, what's your why, like Simon Sinek says, and then build your business on that and let that permeate every aspect of the culture of what you do. I think so many of us start, maybe we're solopreneurs, we get a partner, we start getting a few clients, we grow, and then one day we wake up 5 years later and we're like, I hate the drudgery of this, right? And we have no foundation of what we're even doing, why we're doing it, why we're getting up. What's our philosophy that we try to integrate into the culture of our office, all of those things. And that sounds kind of trite, but the more and more that I live and I talk and I work with clients, I find that that's what is the missing piece.
Yeah.
Because you go to Google. I heard a guy the other day, he's an executive at Google. He said, I left Google years ago. I came back and the culture is still the same. I love working there. And he was talking about the culture and the philosophy and the mission. Now, I'm sure you could find people working at Google that don't like it for whatever reason. But the point I was making is that even if you're a solopreneur, if you have 5 people or if you have 1,000 people working for you, if you don't have that strong foundation of as our vision, this is the mission of why we exist, this is our why, you're going to fall into that eventually. And you become just a slave to it versus I'm serving a bigger cause, bigger than myself. Like you say, a calling, you can call it whatever you want. You look at Steve Jobs with all his faults, he believed it was his mission and calling to make a dent in the universe, right? And he would do whatever it took at any cost. And I'd be willing to bet if you asked him, at the end of his life, I made a lot of mistakes, I have a lot of regrets, but I fulfilled what I believed I was put here to do on some level, right? Yeah. And I think that's a bigger conversation maybe for another episode.
Yeah.
But I think that at its core, that's what's really, really missing in people's lives, like the guy you were
That's
talking
what you
Can we pour
That's
into
what you
that?
need to pursue. Yeah, go ahead.
Because let me tell you about Steve Jobs.
You know him.
No, I didn't know him. I read his biography and stuff, but I think we all feel a certain. I don't know. I never met him, but don't know him. But his persona is he was a bit arrogant, a bit selfish. Would not stand to allow his dreams to be diminished or diluted, and he fought for those things. But because of that, he was probably hard to work with. But what I think he did, is he still created a culture.
Yes.
And I think that's what it is, that you could still feel like I want my business. I want to control my business. I own it like an asset, and I still want to pour that in. But I think you can still build and you can raise the bar, because what he did is he raised the bar because he's like, I only want to work with A players. And if you're not A player, you're not welcome here. You're not going to survive here. But the culture made people rise to that, right? And at that point, then he built that culture of like almost like Elon Musk is doing. Elon Musk is very similar in that way. And I think that's to me, when you talk about it, that's what you are in your mind are kind of doing. Like you're not foregoing your people. You love your people. You know that your people create your business. And I think I'm doing the same thing too, but you're trying to raise the bar and create a vision that everybody can move toward. And you don't want to compromise your vision for people that have their own ideas that want to not want to participate.
I think you're right. Like, and I think the backwards counterintuitive thing is, if you own the business or you set out to do something, it is your personal vision that has to be fulfilled.
Yes.
And, it's your job to subscribe people to that. But I think what a lot of people do is forego that.
Yeah.
Or they're in something that that they don't really want to do.
Yeah.
They're not realizing.
Do you feel that you have to, and this is a word I'm using, but it's not maybe the right word, but do you have to fight to keep control of your business? When I mean control, I'm not talking about like controlling with your partner, like but I'm just saying that it can go, people can take it different places that you really don't want it to go. And you have to internally have to fight to create process to get it from going a little bit rogue on its own.
I think it's always, I don't really, no, I wouldn't say that I have to fight to keep it in line, or fight, but I think it does take I have to be very intentional about where we're going, and I may be wrong, but I can't help but go there. And that's kind of the best way to describe it. I know all you guys can feel that. Anyone who owns a business listens to that. And so I think you have to, for me, certainly get input from people, but I think you also have to be like, no, that's not where we're going. We're going here. And some people may, there's a lot, there's this book, I haven't read it, but I've been told about it, and I probably will. I think it's called Who Moved My Cheese?
Yep.
Okay, and it's this idea, it's like a psychological principle, right? Where someone's unhappy, doesn't matter if it's better for them or worse for them if something's changed. Once something changes, it makes us uncomfortable and unhappy. So once you realize that, you're like, okay, no matter what, unless we stay the same, everyone's going to be uncomfortable. So when I pursue this new thing that I believe is the better direction, or the slight shift, and people are like, I don't like that. It's not because it's necessarily a valid reason. It's just because it's going to change, and people don't like that change. But I think that every individual, whether or not you own a business, probably has to live your life as put your oxygen mask on first. That is not selfishness. In fact, the counterintuitive life that we live is, self-care is how you care for others.
Yes.
But that goes to businesses, that goes to your finances.
Goes to your family, your kids.
I have this mentor that tells me the most selfish thing you can say is I just want to make enough money just to support my family,
Yes.
myself. He's like, how selfish are you that all you want to do is enough to just, and if
Get
someone
by.
else needs your help,
Just get by.
but if someone else needs your help, you can't help them. But the culture would have you believe having wealth is bad.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think there's all these things that a lot of us feel. And as business owners, you know these things inherently. But I think you've run into a lot of people who don't have that belief, or it's not strong enough, or don't have the confidence, or don't believe something's possible. And they just have to. Like, I have a coach that says anything you have to do, you will not enjoy. You will not enjoy anything you have to do.
Yeah.
So if you're in a business where you have to do this thing to survive, or you have to serve this client this way to survive, that's never going to be the best end result for you or the customer.
It's about vesting in culture. I mean, it sounds so cliche, but you have to invest time, money, resources, development, education in the culture of your business.
But it's not just generic. It has to come from you.
Yeah.
It has to come from, but
right?
It has to come from you, and it has to come outside of you. What I mean is, you can't create the culture just yourself, meaning you've got to educate yourself.
What I'm saying is it needs to be genuine.
It needs to be genuine. Exactly. And I think where we fall, and I think where we are going in our culture, is that new generations are coming up, and they feel that intuitively, because they weren't brought up in an environment where you and I may have been, or we saw our dads or our moms go, you get up, you work from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock at night, and if you do it really well for 30 years, you'll get a nice retirement. There is no concept of that. So that drive to do what is, quote, morally right for your family and yourself and your loved ones doesn't revolve around work hours, time, effort. It revolves around, is there a purpose here? And am I participating in something that benefits me and benefits the world, right? So that is the way that we need to be moving toward, and go, how can I build a culture so that when I am a middle-aged and I get there and I'm like, what am I doing and why I hate my life? We have something to fall back on and go, I've built something that matters. This is why I'm doing it. This is my why. This is why I get up. I have a new client, and it's a startup. He's got some investment money, has had some success. And he said, look, I want to hire you because before I even start my strategy, my plan, my rollout, even building my app, I need to work with someone to help me build my foundational principles, my values, and put a structure around what the culture of my company is going to be. And then from there, I want to build my marketing strategy on top of that, so that my customers feel it, so that my employees feel it, so that I feel it. And I have so much respect for somebody who starts from that versus let's roll out, let's build, let's get some money coming in, and then we'll work on the culture. And I think that's where we drop the ball. And if agency owners, especially younger ones that are just starting out, invest in culture. I have never seen a company that has invested in culture successfully that has not gone on to be very successful and very fulfilling for the people who work in it.
I would just add to that specifically for agency owners, because I feel like this often doesn't happen. And this is not a criticism, because it just didn't happen for me until over time. And I talked to a lot of people that it hasn't. I think even before that, there has to be like a something as simple as a business model.
Sure.
That will support all that stuff.
Exactly.
I believe,
Because I think that often, like, you're like, hey, let's just do Facebook ad or whatever, like you become this generic. I remember, like, I think the label
commodity.
agency is a commodity. And as soon as you're like, I'm the marketing agency of this,
Everyone else jumps in.
I think you haven't really thought maybe through your business model, or maybe you could think through like how mechanically will this support what I want to do? Because then, we all know those companies. It's pretty typical in the agency world, right? awesome quote culture, all kinds of things,
Yeah.
but they really like, the owners aren't making any money to get by. Like they hate their lives. They get to have toxic relationship with clients.
I'm not talking about a
all
fake
these kind of
culture.
things.
I'm talking about a
No,
real
I
culture.
know. I'm just saying.
I'm not talking about riding around with scooters and office dogs.
Right. It's having a purpose.
Yeah.
But also understanding
What
part of that
about-
purpose is to do really healthy business.
What about beer on tap?
Yes.
Hey,
Okay, sorry.
quick question
Go.
for you guys.
You were trying to interject a few
No.
times there.
I was just saying, I think intentionality is tough when you start a new business sometimes, because sometimes a lot of business owners are young, and it's almost like you talk to a lot of businesses that are actually successful and you ask them how they started, and they didn't start with this intention. A lot of times it's like just a couple of guitar players and a bass player and a drummer getting together, and like they like to jam, and so they form a band. And next thing that band becomes huge, right? Over time, but their intention wasn't like from day one, let's come up with a real strong plan to become like a top seller. Like they just want to get together and jam because they have like-mindedness, and they
Depending on if they had a good manager or not.
yeah, exactly. But I think I hear a lot of businesses start like that. They're like, yeah, we just kind of started doing this and we had the same interest and we started working on this. And then we finally got our act together 20 years later. Once we realized it was a business and we got, and so I think that's part of it. I want to hear from you guys. I want to go around actually, if you could, and hear from you guys, and maybe start with you, Ken, is, you talk about, you seem very intentional, and I think all of us are intentional, but I think you seem very intentionally planned at some level. But I want to hear from you and I want to talk about, I'll tell you how I feel, but where are you right now? Are you where you feel like in your plan you need to be, or do you feel like you're 20% behind where your mind thinks you need to be right now, or where you want to be? And
Bradley.
And is there joy in that, or is there frustration? Like, I want to hear those things, because I can tell you a little bit about how I feel.
Yeah.
If we have, just briefly, we don't have to go into much.
Well, no. I may seem, I try to be intentional. I don't think that, I think for me, I've always had a feeling to pursue a certain type of reality. And sometimes I don't even know what that exactly looks like, but I know what it's not. And so I've always had a feeling internally when something, that's why I call it a calling. And I believe that it's a spiritual calling, and I don't believe that I'm fully fulfilling it right now. But I don't think that that's a failure. I think that,
does that drive you, you think?
I think it's a pursuit.
Yeah.
And I think but I do think I'm where God wants me to be right now. But I do feel a push, but it's something I've always felt. It's not something I've always acted on because I've been scared at times. Or I haven't had the belief, or I haven't had the, whatever. And so, that I feel, we all know that feeling, I'm sure. And it feels really disgusting. Like, to me, it does. And so when it feels like I'm not acting on something that I should, it's like I've got this, all-star baseball arm. I can be the all-star pitcher, but I'm just like,
Yeah, I get you.
I'll do that in 10 years.
Okay.
Now, that's not arrogance. I'm not saying that that's what I am. I'm just saying, like, there's this feeling of like, you're not leveraging, you're not really like living out the talents that you have in the right ways and pursuing them, which I believe the pursuit of at least the talents I've been given with everything I have is one of the reasons I'm meant to be here. So for whatever reason, maybe that's for my family, maybe that's, I believe it's for my family. I believe it's for an example. I believe it's for the people around me and businesses, et cetera, et cetera. And so that doesn't mean I'm not doing that right now, but I definitely feel that push. And so like, I don't know if it's intention as much as it is. I mean, I try to be intentional, but I don't think I've been. I think it's more like it's like an urge that you just can't get around. And I think that, I think everyone, maybe not everyone feels that, maybe not everyone's aware of it, but I know probably a lot of business owners feel it. I know you guys feel those similar things.
Sure.
And that's why, like, your mission is different than my mission, and it's different. Like, and that's why we do different things. I think the bad thing is when, bad thing for the person is when you ignore that, or don't even think or don't even think about it or pursue it. But when you ignore it, and that's why I bring up this guy again. I don't know what his mission was. Maybe it's to do what he was doing. But it seemed like it was a really toxic, unhealthy situation for him and everyone around him. Like I saw him lash out 3 or 4 times on people. And I imagine some of that frustration is, at least subconsciously, that feeling of like,
You're right.
you know, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'll end with saying this. There's the counterpoint to all this is, or maybe the other side of the coin a little bit, or the balance, not a counterpoint. The balance to this is, there's this other book I was made aware of recently, and it's a very simple concept. You don't even have to, no offense to the author, I think the author's awesome, but you probably don't even have to read the book. It's called The Gap and the Gain. And it's this concept of, it's this really successful business coach that wrote it. And it's simply the idea that in all of his clients, the number one transformational concept was this idea of measuring backwards instead of measuring against an ideal. So as an entrepreneur or anyone that's kind of like us, you have a goal. You can see the vision, and so you measure everything against that. And when you get to that, then you have another one. So naturally speaking, you're never happy because you've always failed to some degree. Like, you're always lacking where you're trying to be. So you end up living a very unhappy life or an unfulfilled life. And his whole thing is simply measuring from where you were. So, you know, the kind of shoot for the stars, hit the moon kind of concept is a real one. That almost sounds soft and weak to me. But I actually respect this person a lot, and it's true, and so if you get a chance, like you mentioned, so you know, I think you got to set these visions, but I think you got to measure your success based on like the amount where you've come versus like what you're lacking, because if you don't, unfortunately, you will never be happy. And that's the saddest thing, right? Like, let's say you achieve all these different things, at the end of life, you're still not happy. Yeah. So, I don't know if that answers your question there.
Yeah, no, just curious. For me, I know we're running out of time here, but for me, I take these conversations and I really start to look at where I am right now. And there's always a part of me, I think, that I never feel that I'm not hitting those benchmarks sometimes that I put out there that I'm trying to hit. They drive me, but at the same time, I get the frustration because it's not going as fast, or I'm not able to get my team to kind of see that vision very well, even though I think I communicated. I just don't think that their vision, they just don't have the capacity to see it. It's to them, it's just not how they're built. And so I think that's part of the structure, the challenge that I deal with. So I would say that I've never been to the point where like, I finally hit the bench. I'm where I want to be. Yeah. But I think also part of that has been good. And what I've learned recently is that I'll never be where I want to be. So I have to understand that I have to be present and I have to be content without being there. And that's maybe that's a thing that I really am hitting. Like, I need to be content. Yeah. And I need to live today, because tomorrow's not promised, and 5 years from now, I may not be here, and I'd like to be here, but I may not. You never know. I mean,
being present is everything.
And so being present and enjoying and celebrating the moments and celebrating where you are now. Like you said, even the look back is more important because you see where you came from, and that sometimes that can be like, yeah, you know what? We did. You know, we're not at the stars yet, but we're on the moon. hey,
Yeah.
let's celebrate, get some moon cheese. Anyways,
Yeah. I think several things as most people observe, I think several things can seemingly be not true, but are all true at the same time. And so what I'm about to say is, wrapping this up, might seem a little bit opposite of some of this conversation, but the more I live and the older I get, I really do believe this statement of most people are doing the best they can with what they have.
Yeah.
Now, let me qualify that. It doesn't mean they can't do better. It doesn't mean they haven't been given opportunities to do better. It means that we only see the world as we are internally. And until we shift our own internal, and however that happens, for me, it was like crashing and burning. For other people, it's growing and learning and educating yourself. For other people, it's someone in their life that loves them well, guides them well, and mentors them well. But I do believe that, you can't convince your friend. You can't make him see until he wakes up and chooses to see, or something happens in his life. And so what I think I'm trying to say is that for me, I've come to the realization in my life, to answer your question, that I don't have to be the smartest person in the room every time. I don't have to say yes to everything. I'm learning what I'm really good at, and I'm leaning into that. And I'm learning what I'm really not good at. And being able to just get to those things in our lives and be self-aware to go, I'm a business leader. I might own this company. I might run this company. I might come in to consult with a client. But if I can be vulnerable and honest to say, this is what I'm really, really good at, and I need people around me that are really good at these other things, and I need to learn from them, whether they're 10, 20 years younger or whether they're older than me. I think coming to that point in our lives where, you're talking about your friend, we're talking about ourselves, that we can get to the point to go, I need to humble myself, and I need to learn, and I need to grow. But until I do that, I think that guy is getting up, and people listening to this, and they're really doing the best they can, and they believe that they're doing what is right to get them where they need to go. And for some people, it's just surviving and paying the bills, right? And they can't see beyond that.
Right. Yes.
And for some people, it's like, I'm going on vacation, and I got people that can run my business for me, and things are really, really good. But it doesn't mean that we can't grow and learn and keep changing. And like you, Ken, you're such a great example of, I'm not satisfied. I'm going to keep pushing and pursuing. Same with you, Brad. So I'd love to just leave it at that. And, this has been a really good discussion.
Good ending point.
All right.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys. Till next time.